Good evening and welcome to the Hour of Hope. My name is Nana Kwame, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the 15th day of October 2023, part 2 of now when you are interested na yɛnsua deɛ ɛbra yɛsua about neuro and how it has an effect on our bodies no nti nsan wɔ koraa fronia na hyɛ na yɛnyina yɛnsua deɛ yɛnsɛ mmerɛ ɛbɛma your special guest Dr. Emmanuel Abompaya Mai na yɛde ne adwumadeɛ no afiri aseɛ.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us under your presence once more this evening. We commit our program tonight into your hands, O God. I pray that you use me to make an impact in the lives of your children, and at the end of it all, any glory that comes out of it shall be given unto your holy name. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, abusuafoɔ yɛfiri aseɛ no. Now, as we free aseɛ no, you can say a little bit of a recap. You call back to last week now, normal kakra you see, you're born a tofa kakra, now you're trying to dream back and no maybe so. Asana, you're twa and the incommodity so. It's a dog. Last week you didn't come over brave. It will be about 3 points, 3 main points be from last week. Waiting about a month for now. A kakayamo. Celebrate them come on. Waiting at us.
Yeah, then I'm see. I think say last week, we went a little bit over the drug discovery process. The first one, and you might say, the process is very rigorous. And untimi entnase na umbo srem na umbo trim na unkasa when you draw. Now fiti out there to market and so now I will say go through a process and it has to be approved by the FDA. And the processes a year about 5. And the first thing they do is they need to figure out what virus or bacteria is causing the disease, and then they need to study the life cycle of the virus or the bacteria, so they can figure out what steps in that virus's life. And once they're able to learn the life cycle of the virus, what they will do then is they will introduce the virus into a mouse and then study the mouse and see how the disease is affecting the mouse. And then whatever molecule that they think can cure the disease, they will introduce that into the mouse and then watch the mouse to see if the mouse is improving and answer the mouse is not improving. And then based on that outcome, they will move from the testing in the mouse into human beings. And the first stage in the stage 1 of the clinical trial. And that time they use Nipaka Krabi, and then they will study Nipa to see say they are not getting any harmful side effects. And then also to make sure that the medication is actually doing what it's supposed to do. And then once that is successful, they'll move on to the next stage, which will be the stage 2 of that clinical trial. And you might say, first one, and then omutimi every phase 2 now, and some of them phase 3, which is usually in a lot of people. And then based on what the outcome of the phase 3 no you know gather data they call FDA or to seek an approval for the medication. So FDA any review nneɛma de bani nyinaa na so mo fi sɛ bibia ɛda kwan mu a na de stamp ide esi so amomo, and then the company is now free to begin mass production. Now a drone eventually it will end up on the pharmacy counter, and then your doctor can prescribe the medication for you.
Okay, and that's it. Now last week you this community, I said it takes about 15 to 20 years as when you say approval. No? Now when you approval, so you have 20 years of the patent. I won't be to me a drone at all, and we try my mouth will be able to me. IAB. Now last week you could feel na me journey adie bi ho. I who say call your Chrome Ghana because they Ghana for all the pharmaceutical companies are more Ghana no. I have not seen any one of them research and bring out a new drug. All the drugs are we generic drugs a Chrome I say patent na and more manufacturing we do with the so Ghana. That was one of the things I was thinking about. Say, I've not seen any of them research any new drug and get it approved. Every drug they are making in Ghana, it's a drug and a patent in the Western world and on Ghana at home. It was kind of baffling to me. Say, in a way, we have to be grateful for the research and the money that Western countries pump into that field. That it funnels down to your crew, and I think we have to be really careful about it. Now, yes, I didn't come be about supplements. Yenom. Obiti mi abon tofa kakra ma ya na ya kaka ya manfo I have to work nkomo no so ene.
Yo, eye yenkoma idi fa supplements ho no. Me kasa me bon tofa de na me pese nipa bebre ehye ne so ne say supplements no enye ndura afa FDA ne nsem. Enti okoto supplement a e wo say we ahwe because emfa FDA ne nsem. Basically obia betimi atena me fa ne say na dwumam ana ne fie ana se company wa bie na waye aduro bia na wakasa e bia aduro onuma ebebo ma e bia wonya hoden but side dukro no emfa FDA ne nsem. Enti se okoto side do na wo so we ahwe enti ye ka ahyensode mienu bia e wo se okoto side no na wo ye ahwe na wo mekisi osasa ahyensode no da wo dura wo to no boto no ho na sasa ahyensode no da ho ye sa USP seal no any GMP seal no eno ma wo assurance say aduro no at least one e safe and two ekwan mo fa so mo ye aduro no e hygienic. Inti eno ne additional de kese ya me say last week no ye twetwe ye ho komo fa e supplement no.
Okay. Doctor that's it. Inti ye beto ya komo no so and ye kai nyina say oh questions and commenter yes rema fabra obetimi de wo voice note and our WhatsApp message about 614-822-5359 614-822-5359 voice note and our WhatsApp questions or the bar and our comments or the bar line so yensabeka na yetimi aboa na yenyina atwetwe nkomo last week da massive be comments and questions are mo de bar na so ye daimo say mo de beba na nkomo yedi no are successful obetimi afresh so 646-769-9900 646-769-9900 na passcode near 336020 hash 336020 hash and a passcode no. I'm sure for you did and come on to be a to so last week answer never corner one for the questions be by now bakwa will be the by now will be about thalassemia yare crow yeah na obitimi aboy na yetimi ato so free ho sa last week no
yeah enti emi se na nipa no apese wo hu se obi wo yes I yare efe no thalassemia na a man any protection from malaria na enti emi se yekọ en ko ye nhwehwemu kakra enti so wo hwe eye mfonyini na omode ato screen so na mfonyini na wo left no eye sickle cell they won't fin no a normal cell until they won't fin that is how the normal red blood cell is supposed to look like. It's supposed to be round and obi was sickle cell, you can see how the shape becomes distorted. But what share image now right now, that's how the thalassemia affects the blood cell. Instead of blood cell no be round the it becomes almost kind of like square looking. And thalassemia, it does affect the shape of the blood cell, and it does offer protection for malaria. I'm last week in commerce to do a sickle cell because of cell shape malaria parasite in the cell into usually those people no malaria. But so being what thalassemia, it affects the shape of the cell, and that appears to give them protection from malaria as well.
Okay. Until Onyak, this question about last week about thalassemia, no. I hope so when a new year say obi with thalassemia because of the shape, of the red blood cell, no, or also in malaria. Doc, you can vitamins one said be last week, and the crama for be I'm a man who say I deal only because it's over the counter, and I'm for be and numbi. Now, per se, yeah, dosu ko anumu kakra, especially fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins, no, and how affect ye, any actually ye or say no san rona, it is a bit to me, amayako nusu kakra, and sana ya.
Yeah, and I think so last week you can say a fat soluble vitamins, so we're the image in better so you can say vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin E, and a vitamin D. Some vitamins where vitamins as a far and this water soluble ones now it dissolve once you won't podium. That's when body needs to the period ultimately a so a man about in the way no dear is stored in the fat in the body until it accumulates in your body until if you're overtaking these kind of vitamins it can eventually end up harming you. Now I can say vitamin K and I just wanted to clarify something with that one real quick. So vitamin K a clotting factor, it helps you clot blood. And this I did try say muja one of those things a boa ema skin no it me a healing itself mamuja no ejai. Now a lot of times so being a blood clot na yɛ de na to blood thinner so te sɛ warfarin na accumulin. So obi wɔ warfarin so which is supposed to thin nipa no blood sɛ na ɛbɛyɛ a ɔnya blood clot. Na sɛ nipa no ɛnom vitamin K supplement vitamin K supplement no it negates the action of that warfarin no, because the warfarin is supposed to thin your blood so you don't clot. Obi timinya blood clot na akɔhyɛ ne lungs. Na itimi cold brain when you're like stroke. Yeah, into the warfarin so it's supposed to prevent your blood from clotting. But so take vitamin K supplements basically warfarin ejumano is useless at that point. Cost 90. Yeah, into that's another thing I'm saying me try more for so. So you'll be out that blood thinner so usually they will advise you not to take vitamin K supplements or any vegetables that are high in vitamin K, which are usually the green leafy vegetables. They say spinach, for example. Those ones are usually high in vitamin K. To be out that blood thinner, so usually they will advise you not to be eating green leafy vegetables because it will reduce the effects of that blood thinner.
Okay, all right. Now, I just said, if you're near you decline, you have to be a little careful how it interacts with inura yenom. Say you busa questions. And the more ubusa questions, the more now episode for clarification also about herbal medication because you can watch last week say you crew homophobia no inura then na been a son die then na been a trend or if you knew woman yes I drew no and then also afa so ye at that time no near ye no kuku obi mu but neska kakra ba ntini metimi their farm manufacturing process mu but still no research is done, no toxicology studies are done and still yeah ton wetimi ama classification or kakra na embia obi adwene mu ye na kesene kakra wetimi atiase.
Yeah, based on your comment last week, na me pese me man ye clear say men kase ebia untimi nom herbal medicine. Okay. But ahwe na me pese wo ye. Na wo tie ase se ekoba se wo nom herbal medicine na wo so tie ase se eduro no especially in Ghana and go through FDA process to send omodia ye mouse mu phase 1 clinical trial, phase 2, phase 3. During that time, they determine the minimum effective dose and the maximum, effective dose, which between those two will be the therapeutic range. So a drone saying that nipa na be take care or start here results. And what is the highest dose between them and nipa na ansane was start here harmful side effects. A lot of times herbal medicine, they don't do those kind of studies. And if they're not doing that kind of studies now, one, how are they able to determine, say, a drone was one of my tobacco, and now no matrimienu, and also no man no pay we numere. And you are at risk of toxicity because they've not done studies to determine how much of herbal medicine now on no man. A be okay amount. And it's all to sign my wing in us in us still person over there. Ubetimafa, but now me clarify sa the amount for TSA the entire. Now make us a main recommended the amount for benum herbal medicine, basa, and especially so take prescription drugs and so on. A lot of them can interact with prescription medications until also very, very careful. Okay,
doctor, that's it. As some doctor can say on cancer menfa, but you have to be careful. And I say over for sure. My doctor who say, and our pharmacist who say, oh no, sir, drawing. Name be a draw be or the amount. They should be aware of it. Be a mama draw out that. Because you know, one for a break, chroma, mama draw. And let me show example. Meaning will be a now or high blood pressure. Your man a draw on them. And we can change so. Gana ni bi ye drobi garlic ni ginger ene no mano dia fra no wa hye no friends milk bottle gallon no dia ma wa kofie no anom saa etini pa no all of a sudden we giant a draw doctor the man no and onom no after 2 or 3 months or call back to doctor hono you see blood pressure from tie on giant na draw no but we giant that one but one can show me say we na me no eti down the lane, no, something else pops up, and the doctor is not aware. Said this is what you were doing, and he said, "No, so one can say, "Mama, nipa and no herbal medicine, no." But what should they do instead? One call my doctor, and answer from a son catch him say, "A draw and I mean, no, a baby draw if me chrome. At least to meet me the bottom. I question doctor, I'm almost so share what is listed on there. No meet me amao." Good counselor, boy.
Yeah, I think say okay, say be say we program like coffee, we join one who say Ghana for mostly in drum we no ye, in dra just say Western world hanum na ye. Now I go from brand name to generic, and then they basically just replicate it. Another thing I will say amount for your awareness, say even when it comes to the herbal plants now, the kind of herbal plants we have in Ghana, no, sometimes it's totally different from herbal plants US Hanum say. US there are herbal plants for Hanum say. But the herbal plants go Africa is indigenous to the African, African culture. And I yensu ye krom no yenye research bebre. Say herbal plants no US Hanum the possibility say they've studied it very high. Until a lot of times they have studies on drug interactions. How bit much France will be no ginkgo, for example. They've done the studies to let you know, say ginkgo, no, it interacts with this medication, into pharmacies bit ma cancel. But say, oh no, wawachi, and I say, do you be wo Ghana, I be ni kroma no ma. Omunim say, do you kron, omunim kra, omunye home studies. And to own to me advice, so say, be a near draw be interactive. Because that plant is indigenous to maybe a Ghana. And a Ghana for no so studies be a. And to be children all right, say, be a no draw, we say, no, but on back of literature, no, not. Studies be and one more, but me a rest of the amount advice. Don't me more. And so that's one thing I'm best amount for so yeah, where I said, and do not only free Ghana be brave, and especially a baby drone. It could be say plant a corner or more to or more the aquash or the baby drone. The idea back on the Bini America Hanum say. And they have no studies on that drone to even give you any guidance. That's another thing I will have to be very careful.
Okay. And now just say it's a big risk we are taking.
Yes.
Because we are basing it on word of mouth testimony. People will know say me no me a boy me. But out of how many people are a boy, out of how many people are born, but on the American. So if I say over 100,000 people or more, and no more, not about 20 people. I don't think say Chroma say FDA will approve it if 20 people out of 100,000 and no more. But Ghana no, and I say yeah, you be doing a tono. We are basing it on word of mouth. A word of mouth is one or two people what they have told you, but you don't know the pool of people who have taken it side effect in there, and as I'm born, we was placebo, nothing happened to them. Now we have to be very careful with word of mouth testimonies. Now we rely on it so much to take sad decisions. No?
And that's another thing. Maybe any panel a drone for 2 weeks, and I'll say abuano. But maybe a month down the line, no kunya kidney issue and now kunya liver issue. Se nipa no nye nipa wona ne tifie a obehu a because ntimi nkyerɛ sɛ bedro ya meno me na makonya but dawo de triban say madam fu wono madro we say na boa no but down the road the effects na dey many panel you have no idea. Yeah.
Okay. Let me say for you na very careful. Sir, you know your father is a big risk. You're careful with that. Show us all questions, no comments are. Ubetimi di aba ebra ye koso edi sa enkomoye. Doc, last week you didn't come on so my something is nephrotoxic. And he said, betimi alcohol now watch it book akra, betimi adosuku, especially with fat soluble vitamins, you know, and how affects in our body so.
Yeah, so like I said last week, you know, with liver, it's like the detoxifier of the body. In TBBBI, it has to go through your liver, and your liver will have to ensure say it's okay before it goes into circulation as a blood system. And in the liver, there are so many things that take place. And drone bi wo hono ma a drone da ho saa no se bibia e ko ni padiem na se liver na anya drone bibia e drone no enye hwe. Say no sa ne friend say e pro-drug. Okay. Enti e wo se e ko ni paduam na wo liver esesa eduro no ko form foforo ansa na itima ye dwumade e wo se ye e wo ni paduam. Enti se obi liver asai anase no liver nya dwuma so wo de se eduro ma sa nipa na sa eduro no enye hwe because you need a functioning liver to convert the medication to its active form. Ti se enduro sa ne friend say pro-drug. Ena enduro no bi wo hono mo so a se liver no is totally okay. But since the liver no then it becomes harmful to the liver, and that's where it can cause the liver damage. And so those are some of the chemicals you can say hepatotoxic. Udi ru ani paduan no okay, but so liver no start to say convert chemicals no, it can convert the chemical into a substance that becomes harmful to the liver, and it can cause the liver to start to swell up, get inflamed, and it can cause all kinds of issues. Okay. Yes, same with the kidney. So majority of the medications are eliminated from the body through the kidney. Basically, it has to come out of the body. And the way it comes out for most medications is through the kidney. So you kind of pee it out. Okay. And kidney, those chemicals become toxic to the kidney. And the kidney cells will start to, get inflamed, and they can also cause like kidney damage. Okay. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we have seen a big rise in kidney diseases. Our Ghana, I'm for that dialysis, And I might say we should be very, very careful with that. Okay, Doc. Yeah, that's it. Last week, you didn't come about how FDA process I will say, 15 to 20 years, about 2.8 billion you have to spend to get a drug out, and it's a rigorous process. It can be very draining, but the end, a boani pabi bray. My example be an because and ye near man for child a boa pants and I'm for what say a chroma say a pharmacy over the counter and then behind the counter the process is for our own good. Now, I think if you can share that story with us, I think they'll be more for.
Yeah. So in the 1950s, there was a German pharmaceutical company that made a medication the medication was called thalidomide. It was supposed to be a sedative. Nti ompese omo calm obi down time no na usually omo my patients obi a why agitated you be say calm on down you be man a sedative to calm the person down. So that was the kind of medication omo in fact so omo yeah back in the 50s na thalidomide. Now a bra omo yeah omo clinical trials, you know, they realized say mouse, you know, if they kept giving the mouse dose after dose and increasing the dose, they increased the dose to the point say the mouse were still not having any harmful effects. Okay. So it appears as if says you know, regardless of how much I nipa no entimi nye no boni bia. Oh wow. Yeah, and because of that, you know, they decided to approve it as an over the because usually for medication to be approved as over the counter now, it has to be safe and it has to have a very wide margin of safety. Okay. That means that you have to take a lot of that medication to cause harm. Okay. And those are the kind of medications somebody approve now be over the counter. Because of more studies or mouse no more who say more dose be still a mouse no any effect be no or more approve as over the counter medication. And there are about 14 different companies no almost tons thalidomide way. And that German company, you know, almost patent and they are more no. Until eventually, you know, they decided say almost person almost said no ba US market, I'm saying, and then almost by US, I'm saying they had to go through the FDA. Okay. Into one of the FDA inspectors, you know, they saw a report where people were complaining, say they were having nerve issues after they had been on the medication for a very long time. Okay. Until the FDA told them, say they need to bring studies to refute that claim. Now, man for one man say do no that's watching no must start in problems with more nerves. Okay. And the company couldn't provide the data to, you know, validate that way. Say no. Until the FDA decided say more approval don't know US I'm saying. Okay. But the thalidomide was being sold in Canada and over 46 countries around the world. All right. Until by the FDA doing that due process, you know, they were able to prevent that drug from coming to the market here. Okay. Now, the funny thing is, about 5 years down the line, they realized that there were a lot of children, pregnant women that took that medication. And all the children that were born, they had no limbs. So they had no hands, they had no feet. Oh, wow. This was 5 years down the line. They were able to make the connection. Because all of a sudden, all around the world, people started reporting having babies with no hands and no legs. It became a puzzle to the scientific community. 5 years later, and they were able to draw that link to say, a man or more fast said, do thalidomide in ano, obiaba, it was our condition, we say be. And by the FDA doing the due diligence, you know, they were able to save a lot of babies here in the United States from being born with no arms and no legs. Okay. But the sad aspect, and they say, even though the FDA did not approve the medication, some people traveled to Canada to buy the medication, and there were other people that were smuggling the medication into the US illegally. So I do thalidomide, they claim that it can help with morning sickness. So be obanyema, omunya nausea and vomiting to omo fit bebre. Na say do thalidomide, we no say etimi boa with vomiting. Enti e man na no monyem no bebre say draw ho betima boa me e ma me mfefe dia na say every day ne so won pene dia na say me wo kwan me fa so metima nya dia na me fa sa kwan so. So they went, some of them traveled to Canada to get the medication. Some of the medication was smuggled into the United States. Enti oma omokoto say ndro ni bi no omo so man omo wo mo no mu ni nsa no mu ni nan. Ti so picture no rade to so na bon say nkola bebre ho no ma no mu ni nsa no mu ni nan. These are the kind of prosthetic legs just to be able to help them. And I was linking this situation to omotondro from other countries. You know, even though say be a drone any available here in the US, you know, they will go to another country and buy it. And you know, you have to be very careful. This is a typical example of the use of the FDA. Okay. You know, making sure that the drug goes through that process and it's approved before it comes on the market.
Okay, that's it. Tiabusia for nkoma ye di na ho faso bi no. Say FDA say on peneso. But obi atunu for say sadru no ma e ma ho fe oba onyem o ma ho fe. Ni okọ Canada obenya bi. And I say obetimi order bi online and you timi order no online. No order na oba no wanom. Now for the about kwala no ni sa no ni na. Your Ghana e beka se bosom bi na.
Exactly.
Yeah, bosom bi and I said there's a curse in the family intina wa wo sa de but ni enim se emi adura okofa ya wa no no. E ho fa so na abasa. It's doc FDA is adwuma we nyina to prevent certain drugs from coming on the market no. Na so omo drugs omo approve no so no. Omo approve you no and I say omo sakos casual steady drug no to make sure say you are down the line nothing else comes up and
Yeah, into drug discovery and approval process, you know, the last stage, which is the stage 5, is called post-marketing surveillance.
Okay.
Into basically after say FDA approve a drug man a back market, you know, and sign.
Okay.
Still omo monitor nipa omo wo sa in drone so to check and see say side effects be pia ba bontina omo antiman catching during the clinical trial stage na. And now say, are there any positive effects from the medication or who a brand of clinical trials? You know? A typical example is always screen is where yes, I drew where there's a friend of Bextra. It is an NSAID, so it is like ibuprofen, you know, an anti-inflammatory. Now, Omo approval a draw way November 1st, 2001. But Nkuma AD and say a drone approval and then sign. No, Omo monitor a drone from 2001. No, Omo who say a lot of people were coming up with cardiovascular issues.
Okay.
And eventually the FDA decided say drone way and safe for beam. Until April the 7th of 2005, they took the medication off the market. Until say drone way UPBCC ya wunya. Until after say FDA approval a drone na and sign. Omo follow up and monitor patients. They don't want to a drone soon and record any side effects that are coming up that did not, you know, appear during the clinical trials. And if there are any positive side effects that are also coming up, they will also follow that one as well. Into where negative side effects on the side, but another side, you know, some of the positive effects of the medication that did not come up in the clinical trial. A typical example of that one would be Ozempic. Ozempic Drubia Abasu say Mr. News it's been all over the news and social media. Initially Ozempic diabetes drew you know, diabetes to try and get their A1C and sugar down. Okay. But after say FDA approval a drone a bar market, you know. Doctors who say patients some don't to a drone soon in ano obia lose weight. Okay. Diabetes and so one of the things they will tell you is to lose about 10% of your body weight. Okay. Because when your weight goes down, it also helps with sugar. And the doctors were very excited because now they have a medication. They're basically, you know, killing two birds with one stone. I don't know nipa sugar but on top of that, you know, so nipa no lose weight. And when the drug company realized a drug weight me nipa lose weight, you know, they went back and rebranded the Ozempic as Mounjaro. And they are now selling that medication as a weight loss drug. Okay. And it's been a plus to the drug company, you know, because they decided, said they were making a medication to help with diabetes, but now they've been able to get two patents at this point. Okay. Ozempic for diabetes and Mounjaro for weight loss. And they didn't have to go through that 10, 15 years, you know, because they already have all the studies to back it up.
Okay. All right. That's, look, to me question kakra, during the COVID era, no? We said so it takes about 15 years to get approval. But for the first time in my memory, we got a drug approval processor. It was maybe less than 2 years. And up till now, I mean, we are maybe 2-3 years down the line. We are yet to see any severe side effects. We are, I'm awake about how our COVID vaccine it didn't have to go through a 15-year process, you know, and how effective it has been up to now. Because as we speak, you know, there are people who are still a little skeptical about the vaccine. You know.
Yeah. So with the COVID vaccine, you know, they've been developing this technology for the past 15 years or so. Okay. So it's not something that is totally new. Okay. They've been working on it for a very long time. And that's why, and then in the event of an emergency, you know, the federal government has the power and authority to fast track things for the betterment of the whole society. But good enough, they had a lot of data from all the studies they have done for the past 10, 15 years. And they were able to use that studies normal to back up the safe and the effectiveness of that vaccine. That's why they were able to fast track that one. With the COVID medications, the popular one they use is called Paxlovid. To be when you're COVID, call prescribe Paxlovid. There are 2 medications in Paxlovid which are antiviral medications. They are actually medications that were already on the market. But they just realized that combining those 2 medications were effective at, because most viruses, they have the same life cycle. Some more studies in the year last week, they enter the cell, they dock, they hijack the whole cell machinery, produce the proteins they need, and then most of them share the same life cycle. And anytime there is a viral, if there is like an outbreak which is viral, the first thing they do is they look at the reserve of what the antiviral medications already have, and they will try those and see which ones will work, because a lot of the viruses share the same way. So with COVID, they found 2 of them that were effective, and they combined those 2 antiviral medications into one and call it the Paxlovid, which is what is on the market now.
That's great. To people who were skeptical and with all these conspiracy theories about I don't know where the ban now, the answer is for a very long time, not research, I think last week or so, 2 weeks ago, one of the women who led the research, we need Nobel Prize.
That's right.
For medicine. And she said since 1994 she has been working on the mRNA technology, for a long time. But COVID in the mama for who so far all of a sudden. The COVID vaccine in less than 2 years now. It's not because almost sidestep normal. The technology has been there, they've been developing it, they have data, they have studies. The COVID were able to fast track it. Up to now we have not seen severe side effects on a larger scale. To people who are skeptical, hopefully bit me put their skeptical thoughts to bed kakra. Will be the question about also should all vitamin supplements go through the FDA?
My answer would be yes, but as of now it's not. It is a huge contention in the pharmaceutical society right now, because it's a matter of public health and public safety. But unfortunately, just something tragic has to happen before they would look at that. But the simple answer is yes, it should go through the FDA, because it's being sold on a mass scale and a lot of people are taking it. Yeah.
All right. Doc, so ubi enum said be supplement or any other medication now on your side effect which is negative. What do you expect a person to do? On report it to the doctor and the pharmacist, and I say, is there a site to be able to report it to I say a dream in me, I say. Now I'm thinking say if as more people report it they gather a database a bit me abua FDA and I make a decision whether to revoke it like they did with Bextra and I said opportunity to year for so will be no supplement and as a regular medication. Now all of a sudden they are having side effects. Should they report it? Because we are people maybe you'll be giant what's now holding and not talk to anybody about it. But what should be the civil thing to do like
Yeah. In Tisana, make I say a drone FDA approval and sign or post marketing surveillance. And the only way they can get that data from people is by them reporting any side effects now moving so doctor prescribe a drug now side effect. The first person also woman aware your doctor. Because the doctors are mandated to report any side effects to the FDA. Ubetimako FDA and social website by yourself to report any side effect. The FDA they have a program called MedWatch program. To FDA in the website. Ubetima search for MedWatch program, and then they have a place where you type the name of the medication, how long you've been on it, what kind of side effects you are having. So that's how the FDA is able to gather that information. So it's very, very important. Say, unya side effects are very important. It is on that data no, is when they can make a decision, say, we need to pull it off the market, and I say it needs to stay on the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jebusha and a dream and no minimum issue bring and Tim Ginum. A cruma there, Unginum keke, Uginuma, take the next step. We my doctor who and I say FDA watch site or no quack report it because the more people are reporting on and I bet you imagine Akoso, no matter who be not that should be as if who will be life. If it said who with talodimide no. Mo say am for omo no me no am ma eni nsa omo ni na any night nti yenye ho bibi no so am for report na obi ade tena fie say ye bosom bi and I say obi na abomi dia can still be on the market ebenya effect on people busia for yes shamara for questions and no comments ebra ye disa enkomo yi obetimi the questions no comments about WhatsApp 614-641-1466 614-641-1466 questions no comments ni nyina all the bar try na ya react to it na nyina yesu ade abo to dog yanko side effect mu kakra yes say your positive side effect and negative side effects. Wait I'm yakom kakra you say no be bra at least I know 2 or 3 medications are almost developing no maybe we just talked about one normal targeted diabetes but you know they found out say also does something else to be side effects some of the medications are when throughout the development phase, you know, they discover something else. Change the marketing and also change the focus of the drug. No.
Yeah, and so it has a side effect. What I want people to understand is it is an effect that the medication is producing, okay. But because it's not the effect that the researchers set out to achieve, you know. Let me break it down this way. Say, maybe some year do the blood pressure, okay. And then I hear me go, and then I hear me aim. Okay. So that's what I'm seeking to do. And any other effect that I will be able to achieve with the medication, which has nothing to do with blood pressure, because any idea I'm painting, my friend say a side effect, okay. But in retrospect, it's also an effect the medication is producing on the body. So a side effect is an effect that we did not intend to produce. Okay. It's what we call side effect. And side effect, it can be positive, it can be negative. Okay. If it's negative, we call it an adverse event. Okay. So a side effect that is negative is called an adverse event. Okay. A side effect can be a positive thing. Okay. With Ozempic, you know, they designed the drug to treat diabetes, okay. But one of the side effects was weight loss, okay. Which is actually a good thing for people with diabetes. Okay. And there are so many women out there that are wanting to lose weight, and it's a hot drug on the market right now. Everybody is on it, trying to lose weight.
Yeah. The adverse effect now. So what if you now watch TV and also see news? Now medication be about more advertise it. Now I was getting to the end now. My machine side effects be brain now. It's tuning out. Doc. Adverse events, no, negative side effects, no. Bet me akwa enum so kakra na esi ade kakra o.
Yeah. Answer na yebekwa enum no. Me pese me my example about side effects na you can want them no. There is this very popular drug on the market right now, Viagra. Viagra, okay. Ebra omu develop Viagra no. Na omu go and it's omu dey treat blood pressure. But in the course of clinical trials, you know, they realize say, there may be a model Viagra be man no, na wenya erection. Okay. And almost say, kai. Yeneska.
Good mind.
Good mind, yeah. And they actually then decided to look at using the Viagra to treat erectile dysfunction. And then they were Viagra or market only treat ED.
Hypertension, they forgot about it.
So later on down the road, you know, they went back and got a patent for that Viagra, okay. To treat pulmonary hypertension. Okay. But they put it under a different name. Yeah, okay. But they have made billions of dollars, you know, from the Viagra, but which was an accident. Okay. They did not set out to create a drug to treat erectile dysfunction. Mm-hmm. But in the course of the clinical trials, you know, they realized that all the male patients or modomato Viagra, so no, they were having erections.
Okay. Doc, answer never called negative side effects no more. No be the question about was it Ozempic now, you can't watch them now. A man for a lose weight no. Would you recommend it?
So in the world of pharmacy or in the medical world, we make recommendations on something we call risk versus benefit. Into whatever disease you have, they will look at the benefits of the medication and the side effects or the risk and decide, say, if, for example, I have a heart disease, it may be too adruso. A drone side effect a constipation. Now the question is, would I rather have a good heart and live with constipation or die because I don't cause constipation? So if you weigh these two options now, it's better to live with constipation than to die. Okay. And based on that, they will recommend that medication to you because the benefit outweigh the risk. So that's how we make the decision. It's nipa na o person or take Ozempic for weight loss. We will have to look at the risk and the benefit and see say if the benefit outweigh the risk. Okay. If the person is morbidly obese and they are very high risk for stroke, heart attack, and that weight loss drug will help the person, and the side effect is say constipation. In that situation, the benefit will outweigh the risk. So those are some of the things we have to weigh before we recommend the medication to someone. Yeah.
It's a nipa person or for aesthetic reasons. Person will lose weight. My see I'm more to do. Person will lose weight. My tipa so Ozempic will be a can was me ko be into somebody back actually.
Yeah, it is any panel. You ask yourself, say, there's nothing wrong with me. I just want to lose weight so I look nice in my dress. Okay. Am I willing to go through these side effects just so I can fit in my dress? If your answer is yes, then you can go ahead and take it. Okay. But when Sophie say it's not worth for me to go through this just so I can fit in my dress there, then you don't take it.
And right now, no, I'm guessing since I drew is still patented into new bobe than kakra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and most of the insurance companies, they've realized that it's become a fad now. Unless it's being prescribed to treat diabetes, most of them will not cover it.
Okay.
Until you have to pay out of pocket. And send your discuss, when the drug comes out and it's a brand name, it's very expensive because there's just one person making it and they charge whatever amount they want for it. Yeah.
All right. When you this question you buy me this answer doc the ma no will effect not any benefits now we make a decision now we make but for now there at least we don't know of any huge negative effect sa yare no sa edru no ede ema and dog yan to come on so with the adverse events negative side effects yan to us come on so
yeah and we are going to look at some of the things that make people experience side effects, right? So we've discussed what side effects are, and now we're going to look at nema bang any timima obinya side effects or no mudra. Into the first one, I want us to talk about a dosage. Dosage, yeah. Into say doctor prescribe a drug, in fact, so prescribe ibuprofen 500, 600 milligrams, or see take one tablet twice a day, and opani and numere. Was a mehresani and misisi, esi achia idea. Before say me numi no and a beboa me. And the doctor said take one tablet twice a day. Wow, don't want to 2 tablets twice a day. You are setting yourself up to get a side effect. Okay. So that's one reason that some people get side effects from medication is taking the medication differently than what the doctor has told them to do. Okay. So that's one reason why some people will get side effects. Another reason, wrong dose. So doctor no prescribe wrong dose to begin with. In fact, say metformin you treat diabetes. Usually the maximum dose we will go is 2,000 milligrams. For whatever reason, doctor not prescribe 3,000 milligrams amount. It's most likely say you experience side effects. Some of the side effects of metformin, diarrhea, bloating. A lot of people will stop because of that. But the longer you stay on it, your body will kind of adjust. But if you go above 2,000, it becomes very likely for those side effects to come. Okay. So that would be another reason that some people will get side effects is if the doctors make a mistake and they overprescribe the medication to you. The third thing is doctor na prescribe dose, based on the literature, is the right dose. But for you, that specific person, the dose seems to be a little too high for you. And the reason why I make us say, so omo ye a draw. Also, omo dose a draw based on nipan weight.
Okay. And
for an average adult, the weight omo use is 70 kilograms. So they take the average.
That's about 150 pounds.
Yeah, about 150 pounds. Into omo weigh nipa me fan say 1 million. No matter take the average of that 1 million people. No? Okay. And the number they settled on is 70 kilograms. Okay. But as we all know, and you'll be on the way 70 kilograms. And even though that dose based on the 70 kilograms will work for most of the people, no, there are some people that might be very tiny and very smallish. And for those people, that dose might be too high. Okay. Yeah, that's where the pharmacists come in. Right. Because ideally, pharmaceutical companies are supposed to dose the medication based on individual weights, but it's not practical. Over 300 million doses because it will be a weight different. So they settle for the average. Okay. And it will be deviate from that average, by a very large amount. That's where the pharmacists come in. Doctor Nabiti chef pharmacist said a draw we moon dosing based on nipan weight. Okay. And to be better the side effects because the standard dose, is a little too high for that, for that person.
Doctor, I mean, this a question.
Yeah.
And I'm saying you will be chrome. I'm for maybe will be people near Juma. Wako hospital, and I say when that issue, your man medication, MBA, bedi 32. But if I copy pay me the Juma, nipa edi 50. Nipa ni weight here, I don't know, 170 pounds. This will be weight here 220 pounds. How could you doctor name? When person me hobe chere me. They say me insurance cover me because me the people na Juma. Now doctor na my medication based on obi already 40, so obi already 50, so me already 32. Obi 170 pounds, but me 220 pounds. That just I'm setting myself up for an issue. And if it will be the amount for say you people na Juma and answer whatever situation. And as will be especially a man, a man very, very worried about their weight. And to one person with weight, see, of course, doctor, you be also weight yourself, so be 100 pounds, but maybe you're about 145. Your mom medication based on that. The doc, my foot took a crowd on that.
I am very glad you brought this up. Okay. This is a serious issue. Okay. Honestly, very serious issue. To the last place you want to go and lie is your doctor's office. Okay. Yeah, because there are a lot of decisions they are making based on the information you are giving them. Yeah. And a lot of times, weight, they will take the weight there. Okay. So they have the accurate weight. They will have you fill out forms. They will ask you about your race, your ethnicity. All those things are very important because there are some medications it works differently in white people than it does in black people. It works differently in black people than it does in Asians. Okay. This is the reason why they ask some of these questions, so that they can make sure that they are dosing the medication appropriately based on 1, your age, 2, your weight, and 3, race. Okay. Typical example, Asians, for example, there is an enzyme that breaks down alcohol. It's called alcohol dehydrogenase. Okay. So one of alcohol, that enzyme will leave them, and then eventually it break it down alcohol, and then you can get rid of it. We know, say Asians, that enzyme, it doesn't function properly in Asians. Okay. And he say Asian alcohol this much, but now we're bought already. African bit man this much. But the Asian kitty say now we're bought already because that enzyme is responsible for breaking down alcohol. That enzyme genetically, it doesn't work as efficient as that enzyme in Africans and some of the other races. Okay. And we know all these things, and it affects the way your body gets rid of medication. So there are enzymes that break down several different kind of medications. And based on race, the noble we need to dose it differently. Another example, opioids, painkillers.
Okay.
Painkillers. People that are from Ethiopia, East Africa, omo enzyme break it down painkillers, you know. Juma pa.
Okay.
Juma pa. It is no. Just for example, oxycodone. 5 milligram. Still now that's so pain mo. Because answer na aduro no benya kwanye adwuma na ne enzyme no ayama aduro no dada. Nti say ma obroni 5 milligram. I also be free Ethiopia, be free Eritrea, be East African. E be say ma no 10 and 15 milligram just because on ne race.
Okay.
What you say? Nti sa nyema way is very very important. To call doctor's officer, you have to be transparent. And you have to fill the forms and give them the right information. If not, you are setting yourself up for a disaster.
Okay. The doctor and immigration officer.
No.
On report to MIM Fawo Kofi.
No.
It is me a Ghana ni, na me Kenya ni bi, and I said Ethiopia ni bi. Paper na Jumana could dream a doctor anymore. No, but mama oxycodone na. Or say me catch and say me a Ghana ni me nye Ethiopia ni no one command something that is. Overdose for me.
Yes, absolutely.
For I didn't come on you know. And you say be more ha, emia krata 70, our 70, whatever reason to do be paper and a year juma. And then come on you didn't say who could do doctor anymore or what they kind of crano who age baby out free and the how kind of crano or doctor and immigration officer or by reporter kind of crano a draw their mouth and fit wow jina and ye paper na would the year juma. And yes, sir, but you know, I come out with Drubia, a broso, now about being side effect. I'll cook, and I said, about being addicted because of the coding. People get addicted to it. It's me, I know some amount of 5 milligrams because Ghana you can handle 5. But paper just say, we are Ethiopia, it's your amount 20 milligrams. All of a sudden, addiction of them, and I said, a bit me a cool cry. The episode 4 and come out and then you know. So, would you be cracked a year, Juma, whatever it is, said, the intimate come. But who could do doctor name there? You are not before an immigration officer. You have a confidential relationship with your doctor. There's health privacy laws are a protected information only a doctor is share. Can occur in a channel. No more na side effect be.
Yeah, I was going to get into that. Say, as a medical practice, as a medical society, you know, we have laws and rules that we have to abide with. Okay. Any conversation that transpires between you and your doctor, no, it's between the two of you.
Okay.
Everything has to be held privately. Okay. They do not have any right to tell anybody about the information that you guys have discussed. Okay. I have no right to even talk to my wife about that individual. Okay. I am bound by the law. Okay. If so me releasing the information na a babo ntina emrana ni me bedi sane emrana esiti. Yeah, until there are laws that protect patients' privacy. Okay. Until you can be free and be transparent. The doctor cannot share your information with anybody.
Okay. Doctor, that's it. Until Bushan we do doctor anymore, we do pharmacist anymore. The echo should be a catcher, you are protected. And could do baby. I think said come on, you know, home for sure about we'll be able to say doc or podcast and I think so too for start TV. I hope say we are enjoying the conversation and we are all learning, and it will be up to the doc ever start the podcast. You know, everything you see and normal be free. And doc, you also and come on, you about adverse effect, no.
Yeah, I think we've talked about 3 things so far. The next one, may say you can want some possibly will be a side effect from a medication, wrong administration. Right, if you can get some images up there for me, okay, very good. So picture here, the screen you see here. These are different formulations of medications. Say doctor throw a drum na say pharmacy fill na say wohwe bottle no ho na say IR eso aduro no so it means say immediate release. Okay. What that means is so no aduro na e release aduro no nyina agu yam one time. Okay. That's the immediate release. And na yewo slow release and no the symbol na SR. It stands for slow release. It means say aduro we say no omo de bibia fa ho aduro no e release nyina one time. E release no gradually over time. That's the slow release. Most of the terms are the same, the mechanism works the same, but they use different way. Until there's slow release, and you have delayed release, and you have extended release, which is usually ER or XR. And you have EC, which stands for enteric coated. So you have aspirin be one of my once the EC so it means that enteric coated. Aspirin hydrobia is very unstable. It's very unstable. One of my CC na asay.
Okay.
Until they put a coating on it to kind of stabilize it.
Okay.
And they say, what the second chum? What size are coating it for hono? Into aspirin no any juma. Into so we have next image in this one, mamma. Into invest amount for shesa near manenso. So Dr. True Druma on say SR, ER, XL, signing man over it means a druno and yet drusa aqua. There are systems in place to make sure say a druno will work the way that they've designed it to work.
Okay.
So who could trim say pay? What size our system? What size our mechanism? For example, it will be a treaty depression. A friend will be trained. And it comes in an extended release form. And to say Wellbutrin XL 300 milligrams. It starts off as 50 milligrams. It's a 50 milligram, 100 milligram, 150 milligram, and at 300 milligrams. So I don't took 300 milligrams, so a very high dose, but a extended release.
Okay.
And it means it releases 300 milligrams in one time.
Okay.
It releases maybe at 50 milligram anopa. Now it releases 50 milligram a year. Now it releases 50 milligram and you may. And it's releasing it gradually throughout the day. Who could trim say what size our mechanism and the money releasing a crank? I bet dump 300 milligrams into a system one time, and you are setting yourself up to get a side effect.
Okay.
Yeah. Inti a drum the by example no a draw a treaty ADHD.
Okay.
It's called Janae. Into a draw no shit capsule mo. And a ubie capsule no ma. I say pebbles and a woman. Your friend microbead. And the microbead, you know, there are several layers in the microbead. Into connect picture no mommy. Into ubie capsule no ma. There are the small beads in there. Beads, you know, so this is how the inside looks like, right? There is a delayed release layer inside the bead. Okay.
And the bead is in a capsule.
And the bead is in a capsule.
Okay.
So that delayed release layer way. Into obi owo ADHD, we are trying to help the person focus. So any panel hold on attention span for a very long time. Usually, most of them are students and obi owo juma. It's a student or sorry pa, he's in a rush or packing a bag or packing a lunch or catch a bus. Possibility is saying really fear drone now on very high. I feel could do school or no drone into me focused. And the way this medication has been designed, you know, they will take it the night before. They'll take the medication the night before. Now, the delayed release layer, no, it prevents the medication from being released for 10 hours.
Okay.
So when we don't know an adrenal, no akoda for 10 hours, I don't need that. So any 10 after 10 hours, you know, not delayed release layer, no, not a dissolve, not a cope. And then for next picture, not also mommy. Okay, yeah. So it says the delayed release layer keeps the medication from working for about 10 hours. So it's not working when they wake up to start their day. Okay, next slide, mommy. After delayed release layer and a dissolve corner, there's another layer called the extended release layer. That extended release layer, when it controls the release of the medication, usually it's only immediate release or no anopa. Andrew Bay Aviana. A drone dose no a coffin. It's any pan attention na started a way. Until more designing in such a way say be release dose in Bianopa. A drew we are na dose in a coffin na say release another one. A coin time na say release another one. So that's how that extended release layer works. And it is a doctor throw a draw way mouth. Now see my BMU de goon quam. That's the what BMU de goon quam. Why they? What's a drone? A baby release a drone in one time, and then you start having serious side effects. These are some of the things we need to pay attention to. Last week, I said, Drubia and beam. Say, Uko Peke drone pharmacy. Usually, we won't say pharmacist and then they will talk to you about the medication, what you need to know. So our phone, so also cut phone. You need to pay attention to what they are telling you because some of these things they are telling you, are life-saving measures. That's not the time to be on the phone. Yeah, it will be forced over pharmacy counter copy code on BBA way be make sure so we as some pharmacists know can want tears here, Manessa can be because it's very, very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine a drug, it can lay dormant for 10 hours and then release microdoses over a 12-hour period, let's say. Now all of a sudden, we have a good system at once.
Yeah.
I know what they yeah. For you decided you come last week, and that's what you said to me. We call a doctor and I call pharmacist one year, my draw. Send you on back as a fan, no, father, sir. And Kaiser me work Ghana, and I'm here to say, and I'm here to say, and I said, my father say, easy, mammy. Said the way almost catch on, no, wouldn't be funny, sir, man, you they might find a different way of giving it to you. Mani who I think sir. So I'm catch you say India minute now to me minute. Mani who India they might have a liquid form for you if you cannot take the tablet. But enquire the one kasa ope. No kwa ku twem, no biemu. Now they are say you might be setting yourself up. Question about so most doctors will not disclose side effects of certain medications they prescribe. Would you recommend we always talk to our pharmacist about any prescribed medications?
The short answer is yes. But what I would say is, local doctor's officer, they are on a time crunch. They have to see maybe 20 patients a day. And when we divide it by number of hours, maybe also almost spending maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes with every patient. And to already know, almost next patient either. Until that already constrains them to spend the time and talk to you about all the side effects. Maybe I will call and prescribe and do 5. Or because I no go through BBR, they might spend maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and they don't have that time to spare. But the pharmacists are always available. Yeah, the pharmacists are the most accessible healthcare providers right now. Yeah, they can spend as much time as you want, and if even they are busy, you can always call them on the phone. A lot of times, if you're a doctor's officer, it's very hard to get a hold of the doctor. But pharmacy, you can always request to speak to a pharmacist. Yeah, and always. Yeah, talk to the pharmacist.
But what the question by so doctor to me I'm outside information because this is your best but time factor or you're limited. And I said last week, I did about commission and said sometimes the doctors even don't know the drug interactions and reactions.
Yeah.
They don't know it. The pharmacist, that is their job. And they will have time for you to talk to your pharmacist. Maybe I'll do a drone free and pharmacist or on your mundin command.
Okay, yeah. And the next thing a bit will be a side effect, allergic reaction. Allergic reaction. And that allergic reaction, it can be to either the active ingredient or the inactive ingredient, right? So an allergy starts when your immune system mistakes a normally harmless substance for a dangerous invader. Some people, for whatever reason, adianka under normal circumstance, any harmful no. Omo num komu really mo pe na mo body na yede react. And that's another reason I bit more on side effect. Now with allergic reaction, there are 2 types. There is the mild type and there is a very severe type. So the mild type usually will present as, rash on the skin, hives, redness, itching, stuff like that.
Chloroquine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so unya mild reactions. What you can do is, first of all, so jai adrenaline, and then take some Benadryl, oral Benadryl, and then for a doctor, no man who's on adrenaline, say na ide. Ayo. And then if they need to change the medication, they can change it. The other side of the allergic reaction are the very severe ones, which actually can be life-threatening. Those are called anaphylaxis. So those usually present as swelling of the face, the tongue, breathing can shut down. And those people usually have to rush them to the ER. And also, see EpiPen, the first thing you do is to inject the EpiPen, and then you call 911. Yeah. And the idea say no, enko. So when must attend hono o take them hono untime home e hona so wo pipen na so the one uni epipen nso a so friend 911 right away we will fear also ni pan start to drive also do ko ER anya sa I didn't tell.
There was a for sending some of the adverse effects of medications, I don't know. We are allergic. No we drew now cow no way you 2 year for a doctor no money and I said blood pressure cough to me home when you home for 911. So only EpiPen to be we will be able to say we are allergic to certain things. People cry allergic to shellfish,
Yep.
to shrimps, and so on. No matter. EpiPen be at all. Doc, you didn't come about drug interactions. Last week, you didn't come back. Like I said, we want number drew and no number drew, not a combine effect. Oh, yeah, now, me crack. I say, one doctor didn't come about my ETS. I said, doctors, they don't really know about drug interactions because they don't study drugs, they study the body. But pharmacists, they study drugs and they don't know about all the how drugs interact. And you need to come back because MBA, yeah, bushing a newbie. Or Gia Draw, or say, or to be online, or Numbi, a free Ghana. They don't know about how drugs interact. Until you see a crack and fair no.
Yo, until you go the different ways I be more side effects. Another reason the nanabosono, which is drug interactions. So drug interactions bit me being so side effect draw on them. Now, drug interactions, there are so many different types. The first one, I'm the best I can was a friend with your synergistic. Synergistic. So, synergistic, the easiest way I met my describe on and say, endromia noa, a kabuma, na ho de no, a kosoro bebre. The infant say, infant say, para by itself. A bit to me. Ama pain relief, but so they do for kapara no ho a e ma para no ye djuma more than so betiki para no ko a eno na your friend is synergistic drug interaction. So the combined effect of two drugs is greater than the sum of their effects when given separately. That would be the technical definition of that synergistic, And a typical example now, synergistic interaction, there is a positive side to it and there is a negative side to it. Okay. Since you're talking about side effects, no, we start with the negative one. No, it increases the likelihood so when a bad side effect. Okay. Typical example, Valium. Valium is sedative. Until you be anxious and also be agitated. You draw usually many panana come on it down.
Me take value of dinner. Na gara ya de ba. What to your kwakra.
Yeah.
So so kwakra ya what the value e good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Into volume, that's what that medication is for, is to calm people down, be anxious. Yeah. Medications in that same drug class, another one will be Xanax. Yeah, I think Xanax is being abused a lot, and so it's usually out in the news and stuff like that. So Xanax is also a depressant. A depressant drug, a drug, it slows down the firing of the neurons in the brain, right? So the intensity neurons will brain a fire no. So will be sedative. It slows it down. That's how it calms them down. It slows the firing of the brain. Now, alcohol and so a depressant. Alcohol, a mellow. And it will be a volume and as a Xanax so. Alcohol, it intensifies the effect of the Xanax. It intensifies the effect of the Valium to the extent say they can actually die.
I've read a lot of articles where people commit suicide.
Yes.
Like taking Xanax and alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the reason why. Under normal circumstances, to take Valium, they will probably be okay. But so the alcohol can't pay, then it exponentially increases the effect of the Xanax and the Valium, and it usually slows down the. Remember, I said the brain controls everything in the body, right? So your brain controls your heart rate, it controls your breathing, it controls, all the smooth muscles in your body. So when you depress the brain, everything slows down. So your breathing will slow down, your heart rate will slow down, and that's how they'll eventually die. Yeah, so that is another way with many side effect is if you are taking two medications that are not supposed to be taken together, and then you end up increasing the effectiveness of the medication.
And chebi ayete say ikrum tramadol na any amanfo de Red Bull aka ho no more the alcohol aka ho no more the energy drinks aka ho. I think so we are looking at some of that synergistic effects in it.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So Red Bull is an energy drink. It's supposed to give you energy. In some way, it works kind of like some of these ADHD medications. Okay. And the way those medications work, is they increase the way the neurons in your brains fire, right? It makes them fire rapidly. And what take depressant like tramadol, which is slowing down the brain. And now they have Red Bull, which is supposed to fire the brain. The brain becomes confused at that point because you are trying to depress and excite it at the same time.
Okay, all right. About a couple of days ago, now it's an article in the news about because he can't Viagra. Now, somebody was accusing one of the congressmen, Matt Gates, said, or no alcohol with Viagra. And a man made a drink come out last week, and that's a this and come on. Because we do among young people, excuse me, I'm saying I'm sorry, dear, but among young men, it's like a trend, and I bear something that is at Ginny Padrimu. And you crying to my Ghana, bitters, be brave.
Right.
How to last long in normality. Alcohol, Red Bull, Tramor, alcohol, Red Bull, Viagra. Very, very sad. Obi in school, very, very young age. It's about almost 10 years ago. He was in his 20s. I call him Viagra with alcohol.
Is that guy from KNUST?
KNUST, yes. I'm a classmate. For drug interactions, so you have to be very careful because the doctor might Red Bull is not a drug, but its effect on the body is chemical. Because Red Bull I'm no me and you're doing I'm no me, but it's having a it's having an effect on your body. It might interact with a medication. Wafa. It's sometimes catchers or drubi or normal. You should not operate a car.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean, don't operate a car or any machinery. To call you now you're a factory. Or catchers say don't operate any machinery because it may affect your judgment and your response. How quick your response is. You're careful. Me no me draw there and so when I'm no me and I say Red Bull I'm no me energy drink I'm no me. But it might be having an interaction with a medication you take and you don't know what it will happen down the lane.
Okay, yeah. Into synergistic interaction, we've looked at the negative side. Now, I said there's a positive side to that also, which sometimes we take to our advantage. There are two medications on its own, it's not that effective. Okay. But combine it with another medication, it might not yet effective to treat whatever disease we are trying to treat. A typical example, so what Prada, not say painkiller. One of the common ones is called Percocet. In Dromio and was Percocet, there is an opioid in there which is oxycodone. And there is Tylenol, which is acetaminophen. Oh, okay. So they combine the opioid with the acetaminophen, which is Tylenol. And the reason why is opioids can become addictive. And we all know what is going on in our society now with, the opioid addiction and fentanyl crisis. And the medical community has become aware of this, and they are kind of decreasing the number of opioids they are prescribing now. So one way they can reduce the dose of the opioid, is to combine it with other painkillers. And so now opioid, on its own, oxycodone, so I 10 milligrams, combining it with the Tylenol, maybe not dropping it from 10 milligrams to 5 milligrams. and they are taking advantage of that synergistic drug interaction because oma opioid with the Tylenol together, ema opioid anyway painkiller effect so that's one way. Another thing is combining an opioid with an NSAID, so like oxycodone and ibuprofen. It is what a lot of times so we pray the hospital they will prescribe you oxycodone and ibuprofen, or they will prescribe you oxycodone and Tylenol. They are taking advantage of that synergistic drug interaction to control your pain. Another one, antibiotics. There are some antibiotics that it works better if we combine it with other antibiotics. A typical example, and we know some amoxicillin is a very common antibiotic. I'm prescribed all the time because it's been on the market for a very long time, and a lot of people have been exposed to it. A lot of the bacteria are developing resistance to the amoxicillin. It is a amoxicillin it treat infection. There is another drug called clavulanic acid. So you're combining it with amoxicillin, that's what we call augmentin. To bones to bua or quite prescribing amoxicillin, and yejuma or kubima, no more prescribing augmentin. Augmentin is basically amoxicillin plus another drug called clavulanic acid. The way a bacteria become resistant to amoxicillin, the bacteria has figured out a way, they're able to produce a substance that inactivates the antibiotic. But say the clavulanic acid, that clavulanic acid destroys that substance now bacteria not producing to allow the amoxicillin to work. And to combine the amoxicillin with clavulanic acid, you have a better response. So we are also taking advantage of that synergistic drug interaction. So that's the positive side.
Okay. Now, Yanko, next one, sir. Addiction. It's a side effect that drugs can have on the body.
Yeah. So we talked about the way the human body has been made, from the beginning. I think we talked about this last week. Humans were created not to forsake. The intent in Yamidibo was not for man to forsake. But that's what introduced sickness and all these things in there. Anytime the body is trying to maintain what we call homeostasis, it's trying to achieve a balance. And if you introduce anything on the outside into the body, you affect the way the body is working. And at some point, the body will try and work its way back to its original normal state. With addiction, for example, most drugs that are addictive works in the brain, right? And how quick a drug crosses the blood-brain barrier determines how addictive it is. Into both a drew, se nipa no num no oral versus osnote and now smokia. They become addicted to it quicker if they smoke it versus or num no oral. They become addicted to it quicker if they give it IV versus or taking oral. Because man IV now you bypass the whole alimentary canal. It goes straight into the bloodstream and from the bloodstream straight to the brain. So you get the effect just like that. Smoking, so the same principle, you bypass the alimentary system. Okay.
Drug dealers,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because I'm up high and quick.
Okay.
Until the best way to get it quick is to inject it in the IV. And I say, because last week I said there are a lot of blood vessels in your nose. So almost not here, it gets in the blood vessels and straight to the brain. Yeah. So when it gets to the brain now, there is a place in the brain where the medication has to act. Let me see, there is an image that will help my explanation. What's in the image number 6 at here? Okay. So when we talk about the way drug interacts with the body now, we go by a model called the lock and key model. Lock and key. To hear padlock at the one safwa and so on. It is safwa when be jina wama a drona one nominal. It is a drona yes of one you row nipe duemoa. Padlock could be a bit maybe a bemount ubenya some kind of effect. Okay. Some of these padlocks is spread throughout the whole body. You may use painkillers, for example. Painkillers mostly a brain. Into one more way if it goes through your intestine, it gets absorbed in the bloodstream. Or blood, you know, it circulates throughout the whole body, right? It goes through your brain, your hand, everywhere. Blood then they carry a drone. Into baby a drone be who padlock a bit my room biano, a baby. Into padlock way a brainer, a beer, ubenya pain relief. But sa padlock way na a pain relief no. It being so I'm talking about painkillers. So I hope everybody is following. I hope some loose will be painkillers. Padlock will be a brain. It being so a be a padlock na will brain na ubenya pain relief. But say be a padlock na na it gives you constipation. And opioid painkillers, one of the side effects is constipation. Why? Because a drone is not only acting in the brain, it's also acting in the stomach. Because baby a padlock no be a baby, it being so it comes with a response. So that's also one of the reasons why we have side effects, you know, because targeting a drone is not localized to just one place. It's spread throughout the body. But it has its own response. Until you be too oxycodone, so the doctor will have to prescribe you medication to help with constipation. It's a must. It will happen, and we know it. Until it's a prescription with jumbo for painkiller, and I say constipation drone can I would advise the person to buy something over the counter because you will get constipation. Okay.
All right. Every time for you didn't come you twice so you no yes one no. Two questions and commenter obetimi di aba. Doctor person share last one. Drug food interactions. And the other di any dry nom. Say carboma effector yenya. Last week you the air off but you more capsule be and all the shift fufu no one nom. And I said, "You be a you did answer your num said drew boy two for say drew men did answer one num." And I said, "The drew make you sure said you know your answer one num." What is the drug food interaction? So with me at your phone kakra.
Okay, yeah. And what we need to understand is there are chemicals in the food that we eat, the fruits, the vegetables. There are a lot of chemicals in there that helps the body work the way that it's supposed to. Until the fact say doesn't mean say like chemicals be in them. Yeah, there are natural occurring chemicals in food that helps our body. They are actually some of them are building blocks your body here able to do the work that it needs to do. Typical example is like folate, like folic acid. The body needs that to function. So there are so many of these chemicals now. Example, grapes, for example, grapes. Grapes here, there is a chemical in grapes called furanocoumarin. It's a mouthful. Yeah. I'll try and say it again. It's called furanocoumarin. It's one of the active nearby grapes. Now, say do to a draw a friend statin so. Example, this is Lipitor, atorvastatin, simvastatin, lovastatin. These are a dry, they control high cholesterol. So they don't cholesterol draw so. That's all you'll be a would grapes be bra. A bit may interact with cholesterol draw. And this is how the interaction goes about. Furanocoumarin na ewo grape no. So onom statin no na say e draw intestine. Furanocoumarin na omo two screen is no a yam a drone be, and we know this because you know say this no there I'll take it again. There are enzymes in your stomach. Enzymes, they are called CYP3A4 enzymes here more yema a yam nema. Yeah, into small intestines there are enzymes be home from CYP3A4 Omejuma ne say omo yam simvastatin no a yam bi ansana ewura o bloodstream no enti efa ne say amount simvastatin to make a calculation easy 100 milligrams. We know say 100 milligrams na the amount no sa mo na wo yam no ebe yam mu efa ne say 50%. Because you know, we have factored that into those na the amount. Okay. In the normal circumstance, I was thinking amount 50 milligrams. Okay. But because you know, say a one yam 50 into ya 100. So the buy a one yam 50 na 59% year jumano. Okay, very good. So grapes are Sa furanocoumarins where we grapes in no. Stop enzymes no from working. Into your mouth, simvastatin 100 milligrams. Knowing say, some way or yemno, ebe ye move 50. You move 50 pen ebe ko bloodstream na kwa ye juma, and you should be fine. And I could dig grapes. And the grapes na ma someone or yemno, he say intimi nye juma biem. Into instead say 50 milligram pen ebe real bloodstream. Now all the 100 milligrams are going in there. And you are setting yourself up for side effects. Because now you have gotten twice the dose just by taking the grapes or the grapefruit juice with cholesterol. So food interactions, and a lot of times that's what happens.
Okay. I mean, grapes there. We are say bonibiani. Grape juice there. I'm not sure. I'm trying to look for the right word. I'm not sure. So a boy with taking out toxins out of your body.
Right. Antioxidant.
Antioxidant. Because to the grapes we bring, grape juice is antioxidant. Antioxidant they means it's good, but if you're on starting medication, it might have a negative side effect on you.
Yep.
How then? I guess we go back to the same thing. Say, if you are somebody on that medication, talk to your pharmacist and your doctor about it. Because so nobody say about my culture say and yeah, men no grape juice and I say mainly grape juice.
Yeah, and one thing I was saying is because a lot of these things have been studied, we know. And TCM say this is the first time I had diagnosed with high cholesterol. Now Dr. Amao at overstatin. Some of the doctors will warn you ahead of time. If they don't do it, then you come to the pharmacy. My fellow don't know, you know, or say many would make counsel. One of the things I will tell you is say do the amount. We will be a would dig grapefruit baby and I'm grapefruit juicer. And they say do winko. Until whilst you are on the starting, it means say also, but usually if you will be at no more than about 1.2 liters of grapefruit juice a day, most likely you will get that side effect. But if you drink just a glass here and there, you are fine. Yeah, but you will be on the grapefruit juice baby every day. This on grapefruit juice, then you have to be careful. But on one glass here and there, you'll be okay. Yeah.
All right, Ebusia for Yamra na Asham. My name will be a question and a comment via or the baba. I guess yeah, the Juma no for a net yeah the ba area. Say that doctor say and then come out you know. Ubi a uti be an I'll show you be a Bejidi say I insurama and you see no be brave. Na me say maybe I will be the outtake a crabby outtake be no. Would be a Juma amana aboa. Me see be no be brave me coffee. Diani aye bi and then no nom. We have to be careful how it interacts. But we always go back to the basic point. Talk to your pharmacist about inra onum. Talk to your doctor about inra onum. Or say you're very, very, very careful with that. Or call a doctor also in the immigration office and to be free to talk to them about everything. The law protects that information you are sharing with your doctor. It protects that information you are sharing with your pharmacist. And sebi. So would you be people there Juma now call doctor and I'll call pharmacist in Chantro, Chano Crow, normal more, or man comment will draw a negative effect. Also. No be bramesia be a medical fear, you know. Also the ocean, you know, fatu trim, na juma. And I say when we down for be and share when we been check some information na a bit me abwa on the pakrono. Better still, share the link. Same ya won't even kind normal ocean in forward the link in the mobi, no one soon tea no one casa in Sia. Emi the pakori tia, we all question be to me the doctor number man no the doctor didn't come out na aboa nipa krono ya de adwuma die beba awieye ene anwumre pese ya that doctor se bebre se onya emre amaye enim se nkoma ye di nya nwie ye beto aso because no ma bebre wo ma o se yesua ansana ye de adwuma die abawieye nti that doctor say and so the second week running or then time amaye we are hoping say na me adoma next week so you bet me enya ne biem na ya to asa nkomo yi so Doc, answer that you be you know. My final thoughts answer that.
Yo, and I'm that's it. The last thing I would like to say, and I would like to make sure that people are aware of this. Yeah, say we are undocumented. Na say would be paper and a juma. Would the nipa no insurance echo hospital. Now you are pretending to be that person now. You need to, first place, you need to know, say you are committing a crime. It's impersonation. Yeah. It's considered as insurance fraud. So that's one thing I want people to know. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted people to know that. Yeah, say in terms of the law, no, that is considered a crime because you are impersonating someone and they are billing the insurance as if say it's assume as A, but it's not the person. So that is considered to be insurance fraud. But again, the doctors have no, they have to protect whatever you are telling them is confidential. But for your own sake, you need to know that. I don't know how, but if the insurance finds out or anything, you need to know, say, you are breaking the law in that aspect, But
it's better still go without the insurance.
Right,
personally.
right, and then just
pay out of pocket, pay out of pocket.
Yeah, because a lot of the hospitals, when they have financial assistance programs, you just let them know your income, and if you qualify, they will assist you. There are several people that come there without insurance. They will take care of them, and they will not have anything to pay for it. Yes, that's just something I want people to know. But the take-home point is, one, you take care of your side effects. Make sure say you let your doctor know. If you are computer savvy, you bet me FDA website. Our program is called MED, which is MED, and then watch. They say the Wofie BB. You search for Med Watch, and then you can report that side effect. That's how they're able to track the side effects after the medication has come on the market. And then if there is a medication they need to pull from the market, that's how they're able to do it. And fan shang ho say do me no me side effect to inti mejai. A lot of times, no doctor kasa, there is a way around it. Either say a bit must say drono or say reduce dose. We've gone over all the different ways a bit more side effect. We have to rule all those things out before we decide, say, okay, maybe I was say drone. It could be, say, you are not taking a drone the way you are supposed to, and just addressing that and will take care of the side effect. All the name if you are doing any of those things wrong, we can just fix it, and then you'll be okay. Yeah.
I'm sure for the doctor said, you only a dinkum or nine years idea. So, question, no comment, Yamra Nation, and the Oseneba, Namia Duma. Now, what you send there, you better address it. I can bear the past questions back ahead of time. So, you beat me a research, doc, you beat me a research, and I want to speak directly to that issue. Because sometimes I hear life in it, I might not be able to research and speak in depth to that issue. But if it comes ahead of time, you can do a lot of research and speak in depth and directly to that issue I want. But maybe I will be say, and then you may come out in a inshra amount in a year be a frame. Yakupo inshra say anajay only at Nasi Edin Komo. Share the link. Share now man for so in be in frame. If a bomb pie, ready and Jumediano Abba. We answer na bekono. You see that urase. Every time we are spending the Sunday evenings with us, watching Chimi Fidiano, send a bay in I betting in your side information that Kevin so as so also ever bois and my side Jumedi about chain baby be our old be a boy around empire. Radio that was say, and a G said what they about Nase in Koma ye yes, yentimi fambo a brabo pa na yentimi enhwe ye hu ye yenhwe nipadua odi ama yeso ye yentena senche enya wapede e wasase so ye pegya na watwi ehye wonsa obi bia otie bia rade ma na watwi nye nkunimdie ema no let us have fruitful weeks, productive weeks ebe show Christo die nmunyam boy ho ban free obonefo ne nsem na yentimi ntena se ehye odie nmunyam ye da wase wa ye mpaebo tiefo agya Odoba Yesu Christo dimunti and Yabompire. Amen.
Amen.
When I coupon shroud, say only I think so will be our last question. We are fan chair. I think it's the last question we about a little bit urgent. I'll say address it. Mo fan chair. Mo 2 minutes. Now you address it way. Now you far. And then you may be in the Facebook comments. So will be the question be about Facebook and if you can help me out with the exact commenter. I guess I did my DNA very here and Murray. And ya Jim Murray be my fan chair. More I'm kind who Facebook na you Murray that must say. Your sister Mabel Opoku, your brother Kenneth Bonsu, Elder Edibuatin from Cincinnati, and you'll be I'll share your Facebook, more comments, what they buy, more questions, what they buy. We appreciate all of it. I mean, I do my next week, so you better share, you better quine, I better mre. Now you acknowledge Jimo, now you responded to all your questions on there. But we be whether on Facebook, on YouTube. Whether on Facebook or on YouTube, so no. Yeah, that must say. Na me do my next week. Yeah, better so. Onyankopon shiramo.
Depending commenting.
Oh, no,
I think so. Obey a practitioner or see real age no here pa.
Real age. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, yes, Sister Mabel. Sorry, yes, Sister Mabel. The question by or the comment by. So we'll be back doctor's office and answer pharmacist officer or real age and who here is protected. They won't share with anybody. You should not be shy. You should not be bashful about it. Men fair so be can real age actually with doctor and as a pharmacist. I'm more information in your share. I'm person walk into yes, Sister Mabel Opoku. I'm sure I'll say we'll draw your attention to that. Now me I'll do my next week. You better so. I'm sure I'll have a fruitful week. Bye.